Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Business of Fun podcast. I'm your host, Dave Wakeman. My guest today is Eduardo Lebre from Circular Unity. I say that very clearly now because I screwed it up a couple times. I had the 90s on my mind, so I screwed up the name of the company at the start of the podcast, but that's okay because it gave Eduardo a chance to talk about what they are up to. Check out my website. It's davewakeman.com. Lots of new things there. Blog post on market research that's been really, really popular with folks. It teaches you lessons that I've learned from doing some really big market research projects with some sports organizations around the world. There's some really good lessons there. I totally would encourage you to go check out the market research article. It's got a huge picture of my favorite Tottenham Hotspur mug, and you'll know why it is there if you read the article. Get the Talking Tickets newsletter, talkingtickets.substack.com. That's my weekly ticket newsletter that's focused on marketing and selling live events. Check out my friends at Booking Protect, www.bookingprotect.com. They will be at INTIX. Check them out. There's some really great new data. They are now a Cover Genius company that's going to make tons of new ways for you to partner with them. Lots of new opportunities, great research on consumer behavior, great data about what people are either buying or not buying, what consumer sentiment is now, all kinds of great stuff. So check them out, bookingprotect.com. So Eduardo and Circular Unity is we talk about sustainability and environmentally friendly event practices. So this was pretty good because I am a noted tree hugger who drives an electric car, tries to recycle, do all these things. And all kidding aside, this is a really good conversation. We talk about the challenges and the opportunities in creating a more sustainable event business. We talk about the supply chain challenges that come up and how they impact everything. We talk about Forest Green Rovers, which is a really great example of an organization who has put sustainability at the heart of their business model. We talk about carbon offsets. We talk about, what drives organizations to look at sustainability practices. Eduardo shares some of the real data around, what some of these numbers and ideas mean. We talk about, voluntary versus involuntary markets. We talk about the French ban on short-haul flights, which has been getting a lot of press the last few days. We talk about, will customers pay for it, right? We talk about, what role artists and venues have. This is, if you are into environmental policy, sustainability, you want to make your organization a little bit more sustainable or make a commitment to offset some of your carbon emissions. This is a really interesting conversation with Eduardo Lebre from Circular Unity on the Business of Fun. All right, I want to welcome Eduardo Lebre from Circular City to the Business of Fun. Eduardo, what's up, man?
Hello, Dave. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh,
my name is Eduardo Lebre.
Mine. Lebre, I said it wrong. Forgive me.
No, you said it fine. No worries.
Well, thank you for being here. This is because you're talking about Circular City is about sustainability and environment, being a more environmentally friendly entertainment industry. And I am a big advocate for being environmentally friendly in ways that are reasonable to people. But I know that it's large scale businesses, this big business that is the largest driver of greenhouse gas emissions and things like this. Where did you guys come up with the idea for of focusing on sustainability in entertainment?
Thank you, Dave. I would just do a small correction.
Sure.
So last year, me and my three co-founders, Alberto, Marcelo, and Nicola, we came up with this idea for Circular Unity, not
Okay.
Circular City, Circular Unity.
Oh, sorry.
That is
I
fine.
I underlined it on my paper 3 or 4 times to see. This is
That is fine.
so.
No worries. So circular unity idea came up. We came up with it last year after few of us, especially me and Marcelo, working with sustainability after many years. Marcelo focused on the events industry, doing sustainability consultants for very big events like Boom Festival, Burning Man, Rock in Rio, Glastonbury Festival in Scotland. And one thing that we figure out while trying to measure how sustainable is an event is that was really, really, really hard to do it. It took an insane amount of effort, a lot of communication with different stakeholders, suppliers, workers, attendees of the festivals. And basically the tools used were spreadsheets, Excel, or sometimes even pen and paper. The results end up that were not so accurate, were expensive. The festivals had to pay very expensive consultants fees. And we thought there must be a better way. So we got together our knowledge of the 4 founders. That is a mix of sustainability, CSR, finances, and especially automation. And we cooked Impact All. Impact All is our solution. That is a tool that helps not only events. We make the scope broader for hospitality, entertainment, events, and tourism companies to make easy how they can assess their sustainability performance. We allow them with the tool to measure, to reduce, to communicate, and to report all their sustainability, social, circularity KPIs, and resource flow analysis of everything that is being consumed at the organization, and what is the output of that in terms of emissions, in terms of wasting the landfill. Based on that data, we assess and give them insights, how they can reduce it. And then we provide them with automated reports that they can use to share with their attendees, to involve their supply chain, to involve their stakeholders, attract more investors. And especially, there is a big misconception regarding being sustainable. That usually people, when hear, oh, I need to do something extra than what I'm not doing right now at my event, at my organization, this will cost money. It will be expensive for me. It will be costly. It will bring me more costs. And this is totally untrue. What we realize it is that for companies, events of any kind, when they become sustainable, it means cutting costs. It means becoming more efficient, using your resources in a smarter way. Like, how can you consume your water responsibly? How can you avoid sending waste to the landfill? How can you use your energy more efficiently? And each section of an organization that consumes some kind of resource can be optimized. And the results of optimization usually are cut of costs and increase of profitability. So one of our main goals is to break this cloud from the organizations that sustainability is costly. No, sustainability is profitable. And if you are not doing right now, you're losing money.
I like that because I often say that, like, I say this about a lot of things, like, investing in women's sports, investing in sustainability, innovation around, putting on events more efficiently, any of these things, they all end up making you money. So don't do them because you think they're the right thing. Do them for your greed because they will make you money. Right. And it's true, right? Because if you're looking at what you talk about, it's like if you're using less resources, you're saving money. So then if you're charging the same amount, you're making more money. The same thing with like all of the cost of landfill. Some of these things are stuff you already have to do. So then the thing is like if like this municipality that you're working with, they're going to charge you a certain amount no matter what. So if any of these things they're offsets to help you minimize those costs. I mean, I was involved with a festival in South Florida at one point, and the cost for like different responsibilities we had were enormous, right? And having something like this would have been very, very helpful because we were on the beach, so there was like extreme amounts of how do you stop pollution from getting into the ocean? How do you stop keep the trash corralled so it doesn't become a blight on the city? I mean, this stuff is to me like a no-brainer. But my question to you then becomes is like, how do you convince someone that's a skeptic of the impact of something like this that it's like really matters? I mean, I think I probably sort of made the case already, but like, how do you do it? I'm also a blowhard, Eduardo, so that's
No worries. I like the question. This is I think is the biggest dilemma. One is the point that I was tackling, that we need to change this misconception that is not costly. It actually brings you profit, even if it's not short term. In the long term, compensates you to change your energy consumption for renewables. It will be cheaper in the long term. The second thing is, I think climate change became some mainstream. So using real life scenarios on how companies that are applying sustainability, they are becoming more profitable, and they are attracting more investments, and they are attracting more stakeholders. And it's something also that is becoming a pressure from the attendees of festivals. They don't want to go to a big event that they know that will pollute Earth and that will be bad for the environment. So they are asking for this. So there is also the artists that are each time more signing different pledges, like Coldplay. They will not play if your venue is not sustainable. So if they want to attract the big talent, and each more we're going to have those kind of artists signing net zero pledges, it will be harder for you to get the right talent to play at your event. And I think the most convincing is if you don't do it now, how are you going to do it when the legislation hits in your door? Because it's getting closer. It's getting real close. We have the new Green Deal. We have the Paris Agreement. We are having now COP27, where many decisions will come out of there. We have the new International Sustainability Board saying that organizations need to account for scope 1, 2, and 3. And unfortunately, very few companies are doing this today. And either they will go broke, because when they need to shift their operations, if they have to do this in 2028, if they didn't start a few years before, how are they going to change their whole operation in 1 year? This is a very strong point. Why they need to do it today, so when they get there 5 years in the road, they are prepared for it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point too. It's like if you do it now, there might be a premium that you're paying for some of the technologies, some of the tools, but it won't be as bad as the premium you'll pay when everybody's forced to comply. Later on down the road, right? When that's like a requirement, so it's better, even if the top line cost seems more now than the existential challenge, because there will be limited people who are skilled in installation and understanding how to comply with these ideas and putting them into action. So that if everybody's scrambling at the end, you may very well find businesses that just can't they won't be able to compete. That's a really good point. So you said 5 years down the road, like that's like an estimate. So how fast are these changes happening now? Because obviously I know if you're saying like if one of your concerns is people are going to be forced all into this at one point, it's not happening fast enough, I believe. And I think if you, like you said, it's become a climate change is a mainstream issue now. Even for people who kind of didn't understand it, maybe I don't understand how you can be a denialist at this point, but that's okay. I know they're there. How fast are these things happening? How fast is change coming about?
Too slow, in my opinion, incredibly slow, and this is the biggest pain. Many people that I talk in the events industry, professionals that are working with really big events across the world. The latest I got a feedback that 20% of the events that person works are doing some sustainability action, but even though most of them are not measuring scope 3, that is the biggest part of the impact. Few are, but still we have 80% of the market or the events that this person is working, that they are not doing events because of sustainability. They are doing events to promote their product. They are doing events to put some specific kind of group together. The main focus is still not sustainability. So it's tricky. It's very tricky. I think it's slow, and governments and play an important role on accelerating this transition of putting laws in place, standards and frameworks on how these companies can and should, in my opinion, must report all the 3 scopes, but it's indeed too slow. But if we compare the last 20 years against only these last 2 years, the speed that has increased this awareness about climate change at the government level and the government bodies increased a lot. I think it was exponential in these 2 last years. We never talked so much about climate change or about companies finally having this possibility ahead that they will be obliged to report their scope 3, including their supply chain. This was something that 2 to 5 years ago was unthinkable. Business would not accept. But now we see that is needed. Otherwise, we will not reach the 1.5 increase in the temperature proposed on the Paris Agreement. So I don't know if I responded your question, but in my opinion, it's too slow, and governments should speed up as fast as they can, because we are already too late. We are running against time, and we cannot have any more voluntary markets, because when it's voluntary, people will just do what they want and will keep business as usual. And this is not what the world needs right now. We already see big changes in the corporate area, and here in Europe, we have this new law that companies above 20 million, any kind of company, 20 million revenue, and above 250 employees, they should disclose some kind of sustainability report. I'm not sure how in USA if there is already some requirement, but for sure public companies, they have to.
It's the Wild West in the U.S. Like we still have half of Congress who are climate deniers because they're being paid by lobbyists to think that, or to say that climate change is a hoax, and that there are reputable scientists that say that it doesn't exist. So we are like not even close to that. But the Biden administration has been very strong about pushing for some of these things. And so like having some sort of sustainability report, I think makes all the sense in the world. But I have a question here because I'm curious about it, because, I know you talked about Coldplay. I know that Jack White has gone, and like he is a big advocate for sustainability, and he especially maybe his opinion might have changed after the last few months with Elon Musk, but is a big fan of Tesla and electrifying the automobile fleet. Pearl Jam worked with UPS to offset all of their emissions, and I guess they're moving their stage setup from venue to venue. They worked with UPS to make that entirely a net carbon neutral before. How much of an impact are artists themselves having on this? Because you just said 20% of these events that people you're talking to have some sustainability component. But somebody like Coldplay not playing at or won't play at a venue that's not carbon neutral. How much of an impact does that really have, or is it more virtue signaling?
Our artists have a lot of impact, not only in their own emissions, but how they influence their fans. They have a powerful voice. I think they're biggest influencers of today's world. So if we have more bands and artists like Coldplay, like Jack White, showing how it should be done, what we should ask from the venues, what should we ask from the companies that are organizing our tours, it's gonna be better. But it's not only this. The artists, the most of their emissions comes from travel. So we have most of artists, if they have a global tour, they will have to go around the world by airplane. And the event is many times happening just because they are going to that place. And this is hard to say. There is a problem of boundaries because, okay, for an artist, what is the artist's impact? It's just his travel of the artist, the staff and the equipment, and where they're staying, in which hotel, and how they are getting from the hotel to the event itself, all the kinds of transportation that are involved in the middle, was also the impact that they are causing by making this event happen. Because one, you can have an event, zero, the event doesn't exist. But if I propose as an artist to make an event, then what are the impacts of this? I have 10,000 people also transporting themselves to the event. All of these are causing emissions. So there is a problem of boundaries between what is their responsibility from the attendees emission. Is from the artist, or is from the event, or is shared? It's hard to say. Most of times it comes up to, since this is scope 3, everyone wants to wash their hands. In my opinion, should be a shared responsibility from who is producing this event, and also trying to educate their attendees on how they can transport themselves to the event in a more sustainable way, maybe taking a train, maybe not going by car, taking a public transport, if possible, taking their bike or even walking to the event when possible. Maybe planning, instead of going from south to north of USA to go to an event, maybe take a week break and take some bus, share the transport, or take a train. These are
drive an electric car.
Electric car works as well for the places that you have a way how to recharge. It's a great option. In France right now, it's forbidden to make short haul flights.
Yeah.
So I think this is incredible, because if there is a more sustainable way that don't take a lot more time for you to reach to the place you want, why shouldn't we enforce that, right?
Yeah.
So it's a great example right there. But yeah, artists, they, more than the impact that they cause, I think they have the impact to make change, to inspire others with being the example. Like you have Billie Eilish, for example. How many places on earth she's touring? Like, it's a lot. She's having a show each day in a different place. And how many millions of fans around the world she has? Many millions.
Tons and tons, yes.
If she was advocating for sustainability and leading by example to those fans, what would be the impact? Cause it, the positive impact that can come out of this would be her fans would be asking the festivals they go, the venues they go, like, we want you to be sustainable. And today, I also read somewhere that 80% of people are willing to pay some extra buck for contributing to this event being more sustainable. I would not mind if I'm paying already like $100 to pay 110, 120, if that means that my going to that event will be more sustainable or compensated by some carbon credit project, planting trees somewhere, investing in some solar energy or wind energy renewable source, or helping some project in Africa, like cook stoves for Africa. There are a bunch of those. But the thing is, very few events offer some way for you to compensate. Very few events educate people on how is more sustainable for you to go to the event. And this is both is a lack of tools, lack of knowledge. People are just not aware of this information as event producers, and if they are not aware, they cannot teach their attendees or their stakeholders, this including the artists, on how they can use their voice to help the event producers to become more sustainable and bring everyone together. And we talk about the artist, but there is the attendees and also the supply chain, everyone that is involved in bringing service to the event, from the food providers to the people that are mounting the stages to simply every single supplier involved. If you are using one-time use things, or for example, when you're making the menu for your event, you're using a lot of single plastic bottle, or using suppliers that pack your purchase in several plastic paper and other things that are unnecessary, or even sometimes simply by asking your attendees, what is your meal preference? This can avoid waste going to the landfill, because then your food supplier can go to him and say, look, I have 1,000 people coming to this festival. 70% of them say that they are vegetarian. 30% say they are meat eaters. So you can combine the action with your supplier and say, look, that are the statistics that we got. Make the meals based on that, so it will avoid the waste. One of these days I got a tip, even that I think is brilliant. I think events should place a fee for those that don't show up to compensate the food waste. So, for example, many times you have those free corporate events that you make a buffet for all the attendees. And I myself, I registered me in a bunch, and sometimes I end up not going. Today is mostly virtual, so not a big problem for the food waste. But imagine this happening on live events where they make a buffet and then half of the people don't show. No show up is a huge problem as well. Yeah, there are so many ways that events can be educating themselves to then educate their suppliers and their attendees and their artists as well, to combine this effort, because cannot be only one person fighting against the climate change. In the end, there has to be every single one that is connected to producing that event.
Yeah, no. You actually, I was going to ask you that. That was going to be my question. I was going to be, so really, it's not one thing. There's no magic wand. It's a bunch. It's a bunch of steps, and they go from large to small, right? Like, so I try to use recyclable cups everywhere I go, like for coffee and just, or just anything if I can, right? I got, everywhere I go, like if I go to a brewery, because I go to this brewery in Boston, and they definitely are carbon neutral, and they always sell aluminum cups. Like that you can buy, and I buy them. I have tons of them at home now, because every time I'm in Boston, I go to the brewery, I buy a new cup. It's so that there's that, but then there's like also this large scale stuff, right? Which is like going, it's not, and you tell me if I'm wrong. It's not like we're saying, hey, look, everybody has to be vegan or anything else. It's just like going, hey, if you're don't waste the stuff. Make the mix of food what's most likely for people to buy, so that like cuts down on waste. Come up with a plan.
If you change from meat, let's say 100% of my attendees are meat eaters. If I change my menu from cow meat to chicken, it's already more than half of the emissions based on food are cut. So even you don't need to be completely vegetarian, but also maybe from those 100, a part of them also don't mind to eat other things if they're tasty, if they look good. Yeah.
So you can, or the quality, right? Yeah. Like like the factory farming creates tons of emission. but like grass fed and grain fed, the closer, more natural the production is, the less carbon emissions. Is that right, or am I wrong? Or
Yeah,
it's
we
tough to,
have
or are you
something
tough to
like
say?
vegan, vegetarian,
Yeah,
then meat, and then you have the types of meat that each one.
yeah.
The one that most consumed for sure is cow meat. Um, then you have chicken, fish, and other ones. But the best one is vegan meal, is the least emissions and the one that uses less electricity, less water, and that is the main reason when you account the emission for food and also area of earth planted.
All right. Well, let me ask you two more questions because I'm conscious of our time today. The first one is, so you talked about carbon credits, offsets, renewable energy. I've seen data on like the carbon credits and the offsets and stuff. Um, how effective are those? Because this is a point of curiosity to me because I know that it's kind of sometimes hard to measure how effective something is.
In certain cases, it's hard to say. So my big advice, if you are looking to offset your carbon emissions, look for verifiable projects and projects that are certified. There are many credible certifications, CDP, Vera, Gold Standard. These are the ones that you should be looking for. Events must be certified to be at least credible. How effective they are, it depends a lot on the kind of project, because, for example, exchanging cook stoves for people that are still burning wood or coal to cook is not that you are sequestrating carbon. You are avoiding more carbon going to the atmosphere. Planting trees, you're sequestrating carbon. Renewable energy, when you invest in this, it's accelerating the transition to make the energy cheaper in the future, and investing in the technology so it can be more scalable. So there is several types of investment, but the main criteria here is invest in projects that are certified and cannot be duplicated, because this is the biggest problem of carbon credit marketplaces, is that there is no transparency and the sale of duplicated credit. So you should be really aware when you buy your credit to check in the carbon registered if this credit was not retired before your purchasing, because you might be buying a duplicated one that is worthless. Then you are really just not helping the planet. You're
getting scammed. Yes.
Yeah, you're getting scammed. So my advice is look for blockchain technologies involved with carbon credit marketplace, or very credible marketplaces like the UN one is a good one. We have a few ones across Europe and USA that are based in blockchain. A big example I would say is Patch.io. That means that all the credits that are purchased there are verifiable, they are transparent because they are on the blockchain. So you can be audited and you can be sure that they will never be duplicated because they are part of the chain. So I would say look for verifiability and certification. These are the two main points. How efficient the projects are is hard to measure for some types of project, but for most types of project, we have very concrete parameters. Like if I plant that area with that amount of trees that are native, there is companies that can monitor your land with satellites and tell you exactly millimeter by millimeter, centimeter by centimeter, how much carbon you are sequestrating in your land. And this applies also to farmers and people, regular people that have some land with some tree planted. Today, you can hire services of companies such like this one that I mentioned, and certify how much credit of carbon you are generating with your land. It's all quantifiable, but the first step is to get certified so it's credible that you are really committed and there is people and organizations following up with your commitment. That is my advice when looking for carbon credits.
Okay. And so then one final one then is like, where should people be looking for inspiration? And I'll say that like one of the coolest things that I see is I love Forest Green Rovers in England because they have designed a stadium that is going to be completely sustainable, not using concrete, all these things. They have like all these like I ordered my son a jersey last year for his birthday that was made out of like recycled coffee grounds. So I was like, yeah, I find it kind of cool that what they can do because I was like, who knew this even thing? But where should people be looking for inspiration and like where you can see examples of people doing a really great job besides Forest Green Rovers because they're amazing?
I would say, like in the event sector in USA, I'm part as a founding member of Muse, Members United for Sustainable Event, and we are a big community in USA that really cares about being sustainable and applying the very basic and improving with time and until we get to a point that the industry can get to the net zero, the real net zero, and being more sustainable. But it's a good place to start. They offer a lot of material for events on how to be sustainable, lots of interviews with great people right there. I also advise on the materials from Sustainable Events Alliance. They have great materials to teach you how to be more sustainable as an event producer. And also the Event Industry Council. If you're looking to certify yourself as a event sustainability professional, is a great place to go. They have several courses that you can certify and learn about every single aspect on how to make your event sustainable. Besides this, if you're looking to learn more about this, I really advise you reading about GHG protocol, GHG protocol, greenhouse house emissions, and also about GRI reporting. Is how you should be reporting the sustainability efforts of your company, organization, event. These are the informations, the places, sources of information that I usually go when I need to revisit some concept or understand more about being sustainable.
Yeah. And where can people find you on the internet?
I'm on LinkedIn. So to find me, you can search by Eduardo Lebre. Also, you can visit our website, www.circulaunity.com. And I guess this is it. You can send us a message from the website, or feel free to send me a direct email on eduardo@circulaunity.com.
Not Circular City, like I butchered it at the start. So that's good.
But that is also a great name. I like Circular City.
Eduardo, man, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you very much, Dave. It's a pleasure.
Let me know what you thought about my conversation with Eduardo by sending me an email. It is my name, Dave, at davewakeman.com. Check out my website, davewakeman.com. I've got a whole slew of new workshops that I'm going to start rolling out, including a pricing one. So it's going to be very exciting. I'm going to looking at some stuff in New York, here in DC, and London right now. Those things will start kicking off very soon. So keep an eye on the website. But I'd also really, really strongly encourage you to check out the recent market research blog post I posted with 8 lessons that I learned. It'll give you a whole bunch of insight into the way I approach market research, how I develop insights, but things that you can use right away. It's super valuable. Again, there's a big picture of my Tottenham Hotspur mug. It is there for a specific reason that you will find out by reading the article. Get the Talking Tickets newsletter, talkingtickets.substack.com. It's my weekly newsletter about tickets, some marketing and selling tickets. Oh, I would be remiss if not mentioning too that check out and get on the Numbers to Know webinar. I'm going to post it here later, but you're going to want to get there to do the Q&A live. It's the annual thing I do where I look at numbers for the year to come and help you put them in context so you understand what they mean and help you sell more tickets. That's coming up on the 13th of December at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So check that out. You can send me an email to get invited. It's dave@davewakeman.com. check out my friends at Booking Protect. They are in the planning stages for INTIX. It's going to be very exciting. It is in my hometown of Seattle. I was born in Bremerton, right across the Puget Sound. I lived there in my early 20s. I helped open the Experience Museum Project. The Experience Music Project, which is now the Mopop Museum. So there's a lot of stuff I can't wait to go to Seattle to see. Booking Protect is now a Cover Genius company, and that means that there is more information for you, greater technological solutions, and the same great customer service that you've come to expect. So check them out, bookingprotect.com, and make sure you connect with them in Seattle. As always, I want to thank you for listening to the podcast, reading the newsletter, engaging with me, working with me, all of these things. It's always great to hear from you and talk to you. And like I said, it's been a tough time last couple of years for everybody. If you need somebody to chat to, send me a note. I'll crack some dad jokes or whatever for you. But I just don't want you to feel like you're going through these things alone. I'm always there for you. But until next time, thank you for listening. I'll talk to you soon. Take it easy.